In 1984, the biggest shoe company on earth had a chance to sign a 21-year-old basketball player from North Carolina. They said no. The company that said yes turned that no into the most profitable sneaker deal in human history. And 40 years later, the company that passed is still trying to recover from it. Everyone thinks Nike was always the king of sneakers. It wasn't. For most of the 20th century, Nike was the scrappy underdog, and the company everyone feared was German, run by a man who literally hand-stitched shoes in his mother's laundry room. So how did the underdog flip the entire industry upside down? And why, even today, is the loser of that 1984 decision suddenly clawing its way back in a way nobody saw coming? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how a single signature changed a $100 billion industry, and you'll never look at your sneakers the same way again. Here's what's at stake in this story. Billions of dollars, the careers of the greatest athletes alive, and a rivalry so personal it once split a German town in half, literally, with two factories facing each other across a river, run by two brothers who stopped speaking. You think Coke versus Pepsi is intense? This rivalry has Hitler-era betrayal, a stolen NBA contract, and a kid from Akron, Ohio who almost changed sides for $30 million. We'll get there. Let's set the stage first. It starts in 1924 in a small Bavarian town called Herzogenaurach. Two brothers, Adolf and Rudolf Dassler, start making shoes out of their mom's laundry room. By the 1936 Olympics, their spikes are on the feet of Jesse Owens when he wins 4 gold medals in front of Adolf Hitler. The Dasslers are on top of the world. Then World War II happens. The brothers have a falling out so brutal that historians still argue about the real cause. And in 1948, they split the company in two. Adi keeps the factory on one side of the river and calls his half Adidas. Rudy starts his own brand on the other side. He calls it Puma. For decades, Adidas dominates. Soccer, the Olympics, track and field, Adidas owns it all. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, a guy named Phil Knight is selling shoes out of the trunk of his car. Now here's where it gets interesting, because this is where the underdog arc begins. And trust me, what happens next is going to completely reframe how you see Nike's entire rise. Phil Knight isn't some shoe genius. He's a Stanford business student who writes a research paper arguing that Japanese-made running shoes could undercut Germany's grip on the market, the same way Japanese cameras crushed German camera brands. In 1964, he and his old track coach, Bill Bowerman, throw in $500 each and start a company called Blue Ribbon Sports. They're literally importing shoes and selling them at track meets out of Knight's car. By 1971, they rename the company Nike after the Greek goddess of victory and hire a college student to design a logo for $35. That logo is the swoosh. For the next decade, Nike chips away at the running shoe market, but Adidas still owns the world stage. Soccer, the Olympics, Muhammad Ali wore Adidas. This is Adidas's golden era, and Nike is still the scrappy little brother nobody takes seriously. But here's a stat that should stop you in your tracks. By 1980, Adidas controls the global sports footwear market almost completely. And within 4 years, that grip is about to crack because of one decision made in a single boardroom. This is where the loop tightens. Pay attention, because the next part is the hinge the entire rivalry swings on. It's 1984. Nike is in trouble. Sales are down. The company is hemorrhaging cash on a failed line of casual shoes called Nike Strasser, and the basketball division is on the chopping block. A marketing executive named Sonny Vaccaro has an idea that everyone in the room thinks is insane. Instead of spreading Nike's basketball budget across a handful of rookies, bet the entire $2 million budget on one guy. A rookie. Someone who hasn't even played an NBA game yet. His name is Michael Jordan. And here's the twist. Jordan doesn't even want Nike. He loves Adidas. He wears Adidas to practice. He wears Converse in games because that's his college sponsor. When Vaccaro and his team finally get a meeting, Jordan shows up basically planning to say no. So what happens next? Nike puts together an offer nobody in basketball has ever seen before. A real cash guarantee. And this is the part that changes everything. A cut of every single shoe sold with his name on it. Jordan's family pushes for it. Adidas, still recovering from the death of founder Adi Dassler years earlier and going through a messy leadership transition, gets a chance to match the offer. And they don't. They walk away. In the fall of 1984, Jordan signs with Nike. Now, hold on, because the story doesn't end with the signature. The real twist comes in what happens after. Nike releases the Air Jordan in 1985, and the NBA immediately bans the shoes from games, fining Jordan $5,000 every single time he wears them on the court, because the colors violate the league's uniform rules. You'd think that would kill the shoe. Instead, Nike pays every fine and turns the ban into the greatest advertisement in sneaker history. Banned sneakers that kids across America are suddenly desperate to own. By May of 1985, Nike has sold $70 million worth of Air Jordans. By the end of the year, it's over $100 million, nearly 40 times what Nike's own internal projections expected. One signature, one bet nobody else wanted to make, and it permanently shifts the balance of power in the rivalry. But Adidas's mistakes don't stop in 1984, and this next one is almost too painful to believe. Fast forward to 2003. Sonny Vaccaro, the same guy who signed Jordan, is now working for Adidas, and he's trying to sign the next generation superstar, a high schooler from Akron, Ohio, named LeBron James. Adidas is close. They have a real shot. And then, according to multiple accounts, the deal collapses over a gap of roughly $30 million. Adidas simply won't go higher. LeBron signs with Nike instead, for what becomes one of the most valuable athlete partnerships in sports history. Twice. The same company. The same mistake. Two of the greatest basketball players who ever lived. Both nearly Adidas athletes. Both ending up at Nike because of decisions made in a boardroom. So that's the climax of the story. But here's the part most people miss. The part that actually matters for understanding business, not just sneakers. These weren't random unlucky breaks. Nike won both times because it was willing to bet everything on a person before the world recognized their value. While Adidas, weighed down by caution and leadership uncertainty, hesitated. That's the actual lesson here, and it applies way beyond shoes. Whether you're picking a stock, a business partner, a hire for your team, or even a creative project to bet your time on, the biggest returns rarely come from the safe, obvious choice. They come from recognizing potential before everyone else does, and then being willing to commit fully instead of hedging your bets. Nike didn't win because it had more money. In 1984, it barely had any. It won because it was willing to go all in on conviction, while its biggest competitor played it safe. And here's the part that makes this story even better, because the rivalry isn't over, not even close. As of the most recent reporting in 2026, Nike is actually struggling. Sales have been sliding for 2 straight years. China revenue has dropped sharply, and the brand's reputation ranking has taken a real hit. Meanwhile, Adidas, under new leadership since 2023, just posted double-digit growth across nearly every region, with revenue climbing toward $25 billion and momentum building heading into a home continent World Cup. The underdog that lost Jordan and lost LeBron is, 4 decades later, mounting the most serious comeback this rivalry has ever seen. History doesn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme. So here's the question I'll leave you with. If Adidas had said yes in 1984, if they'd matched Nike's offer for a 21-year-old rookie nobody believed in yet, do you think the entire sneaker industry would look different today? Drop your answer in the comments, because I genuinely want to know what you think. And if you want to see the other side of this story, the wildest celebrity endorsement battles Nike and Adidas have fought over the decades, that video is right here, and trust me, it gets even crazier than this one. See you in the next one.